All right, good morning, folks. A few minutes late getting started here, but it's another morning warm-up, and today I'm going to be focusing on some drawing in Clip Studio Paint, doing some traditional stuff. My coffee here with, my girl Anna from Apocalypse Girl on my mug. One of the more satisfying things about what I do is having some cool stuff with your own characters on it. It's just, it's nice. So, I am going to be working on some concepting, working up some sketches and things to share with another artist. There's a project coming up that I'm looking to get off the ground with my buddy Tassos. Tassos, if you're watching this is for you, man. I swear to God, your package of stuff is going to be incoming soon enough. So, anyway, let's go back. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. I actually have some references up that you can't see, but it's kind of a thing. Being able to look at different ideas and such, and pull from those. So let's just jump into this, where I sit here and run my mouth too much. So, all right. It's funny, I actually have a slightly different posture when I'm drawing traditionally as to when I'm sculpting. I have to kind of scoot up. I get a little closer to the surface. Alright. So, I'll start off kind of spitballing some rough stuff here that kind of gets this character started. And here you can see I'm kind of building some shapes while working out that form underneath. Might be a little loose with it sometimes, but I don't know. It's kind of a thing. Let's pull that in there. Do you want to come back out there with that, actually? No, I don't. I can labor over a pose quite a bit. And going for something kind of classy and kind of pulp. Let's see. And right now I'm just kind of working out sort of a general attitude for this character. Like figuring out sort of what would be an iconic pose. It's sort of an important thing, I think. If you consider like Superman has his classic, chest out, arms back sort of deal that you see quite a bit, either ripping the shirt off, or there was like a classic illustration from Neil Adams back in the day of Superman breaking out of these chains. And there's just always this kind of thing that you see. And then, like Batman, I think of his classic pose as either crouched down, you know, hulking over the edge of a building on a gargoyle or something like that, or even at the edge of a building with a knee up. He's always, like, Batman's always ready to pounce, whereas Superman's just, you know, this picture of strength. These iconic poses are, I guess they're things you don't even really think about. But if you didn't see them, it's like very rarely do you see a Batman book that you don't have a moment in it where you see certain kinds of poses with the character. Superman, same thing. And when you're creating a character, there needs to be some consideration given to their physicality, and that's going to inform the kind of poses that you'll see them in. So that's important stuff for characterization. What I have right here, I wouldn't call this necessarily an iconic sort of pose, but it's definitely going to convey, you know, kind of a staunch, upright, kind of stoic sort of character. And I scribble constantly when I'm drawing. That's a really big thing for me, is scribbling. Because it's kind of like sculpting. Is that when I'm scribbling, I'm kind of creating some noise on the page. And then from there, I can sort through the noise and find what I want. You know, it's like the classic idea of a sculptor, you know, looks at a block of marble and has to look at it and imagine what's waiting to come out of it, or start cutting into it and then find what's waiting to come out of it. When you're looking at a blank page, there's an element of that, and kind of like with the marble or with sculpting, you know, it's if you watch some of my sculpting videos where I'm just concepting, I'll take a shape and I'll just start pushing and pulling on it, and kind of like, well, where's this going to go? Where's this going to go? What's this going to do? Sometimes these abstract shapes will come up from it that then, to me, you know, strike me as something, and then they become a thing. So that's kind of what wanted to come out of that shape, out of that, you know, out of that marble, if you will. And on the page, you know, the blank page is the same way. And when you start the scribbling, you're just doing those random shapes, those random cuts into it until something strikes you as a thing. And then you follow that and let it inform you. A lot of times people who aren't involved in, you know, the creative stuff, they'll say, you know, oh, I could never do that. How do you come up with this? How do you come up with all these ideas? And I'm like, well, half of it's just BS. A good half of it, maybe 3/4 of it. And I say that kind of jokingly, but it's not so much that it's BS, because it ends up becoming something that's not BS. But it starts off a lot of times with, you know, scribbling and playing and just making a mess and then sorting out the mess. It's amazing how much creativity comes just from making a mess and sorting it out. I'm really anxious to see what's going to happen with this character. I kind of already have the character in mind and a design and all that stuff. Like, I generally know where I'm going with this guy. It might be a misnomer to call this concepting in a way, but it really, you know, I just need to start drawing the character a bit, doodling some stuff out, and playing around with it. in the end, I am probably going to do, I might do a couple pages here and there. I'm most likely just going to do paintings for the covers, because this is something I want to do with Tassos and his sort of really super cool watercolor style. And man, his stuff is so awesome. But you know, in the event that I want to do some of it myself too, you know, it's kind of what kind of a creator would I be if I didn't, you know, draw my own damn character? You know, at least in the creation process. Come on. Let's see. I think I got too much shoulder up there. Yeah. Yeah, I thought I had him hulked up a little too much on the top. That was what was throwing me off. Yeah, it's funny. I like to do my pages. I really do like drawing traditionally, and like doing it on traditional mediums, traditional boards, and so on. But there is something really freeing about doing my roughs digitally, and quite often anymore I will do the blue line part of a page or drawing in the computer and print that out in super light blue on quality boards, and then I'll do the inks from there. That's so funny. In the end, this is going to be built into some digital 3D assets that that's the other thing I'm really going to dig about working with Tassos on this, is that his process involves using 3D, even though it comes out looking very watercolor. And what that's going to allow is he'll do his artwork, but at the base level of it, it'll have a lot of my 3D sculpted assets that like the style will sort of ripple through. So in the end, there'll be this element of my concepts, my direct work at the base of it, and then with all of his stuff stacked on top of it, in a similar way to the way an inker you know, affects the pencils that they ink over, or even more so. Back in the day, they used to, a lot of times, instead of pencil or an inker, you'd see in the credits of comics, you'd see breakdowns and finisher. And I think that's probably the way that I'm going to go with the crediting on this, even, is to refer to Tassos as the finisher. Because we're talking about a process of where we'll kind of collaborate on the page-to-page layouts. I might thumbnail out the breakdowns, which is kind of what breakdowns tend to be. And, you know, I'll do the breakdowns for a page, and it's like, oh, this goes here, and these kind of things, and I want this for the storytelling, because as the writer of it, you know, it's super important to me to have as much input into that as possible if I hand it off to another artist, which I've never gotten to do before. You know, I'm saying that theoretically. This is the first time I will have worked on another artist, or worked with another artist on a book. So my theory about how this is going to work, and how I want to approach it is where there'll be quite a bit of breakdowns that I'll do. Maybe not even every single page, but quite a few of the pages. And then I'll hand that off to Tassos to, so that, like, in a way, like, the overall page and the guidance from panel to panel and the layout, maybe some camera angles and things like that, those will be the things that I contribute artistically to the pages. Then each panel becomes his work of art based on that. So it's collaborative in that sense, and really the end look is all his, with that little hint of my 3D elements, that inform the painting that he does over them. So it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be really cool. Really, really interesting way to work. I know a couple other comics have been done that way. There's some guys that I'm friends with out there who've done some things that way, and their results have been pretty interesting. All right. So while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to pop over to my my browser and do some sharing. So might need to make a couple of quick edits here. All right. Let's just save that. And I swear it's coming right back. I make silly noises. Oh man, I need to just like schedule these and actually like get on the ball with the way that I post all this stuff, because I'm super lame about that, but there's only so much one person can do. Only so much one person can do. Sharing, sharing, and sharing. Alright, I think I can get back in here. Alright, let's jump back to it. Jump back. Kiss myself. Good God. Hoo-ha. Alright. I just realized I probably have my backing audio a little on the loud side there. Hopefully I'm coming in over it. I don't know. We'll see. We're flying by the seat of our pants here, but that's okay. Alright, so once I have something rough like that kind of knocked in, I might, I don't know, I like to work non-destructively. It's one of the reasons I was saying I like to do pencils digitally, because I can work very non-destructively. So, come back here. Oop, sorry, my bad. So let's throw another layer on top of here. And this one is going to have higher opacity. And I try not to zoom in too much either, because if I'm working for something that's going to be a page, you know, then I find that, pardon me, that on my Cintiq, keeping that at about around 18 to 20% on screen is going to be about the same size as working on an 11 by 17. So I actually wish there were a way I could just lock that. It's very easy out of habit in Photoshop and other programs to go, oh, I got to zoom in. But zooming in and out on a page that you're drawing will really trick your eyes when it comes to how the stuff's going to reproduce when it prints. Because if you zoom in, you're like, oh, I want to fixate on that detail. And you zoom in and do a bunch of details. Odds are you're going to do tiny stuff that once it shrinks down and gets on the page, it's going to be lost. It's a wasted effort. You're going to kill time that way. Don't do it. But if you zoom out and you work like to the final page size, then you're going to be probably working in thicker lines. Things are going to be, it's going to affect the look. And I kind of have that old school mid 80s through early 90s is really my sweet spot for comic book art. It's the era that I grew up in and that I love the most in a lot of ways. And pretty much all the art back then was done, you know, on 11 by 17 sheets, which is what I still like to work on for my own stuff. So I try to, when I'm working digitally, I try to emulate that as much as I can. Pop my references back up in another window. And I highly encourage people to use Pinterest for collections of references and whatnot. It's something that I use Pinterest all the time. I have a ton of Pinterest boards. So Pinterest is not just for you know, for ladies and cooking. Although I do have some awesome food stuff in my boards because I like me some foods. Let's see. Let's see. Yes, here we go. All right. So this character is going to be a lot of fun because of this particular element right here. Has an Oni mask over the bottom half of his face. And I really need to nail that down a little better. And I just need some better references. Yeah. Oh, the desire to zoom in is so great. It'd be so easy to just zoom right on in on that, you know? So let's fill that in. And then give a little hint of maybe a lip or something showing back there. That needs to come down lower. Yeah, there we go. Don't like that. Still working out kind of some of the specifics of how this is going to work. Some shadows in here. This is the part where I'm probably going to get a little on the quiet side, so just bear with me. See, if I were going to be drawing this all the time, I would practice this until I get it down to like muscle memory almost for how to complete this. But it's still very much in kind of a design phase. So there's a big component of playing around with it to get the design nailed down, the feel of it and everything that I want. Why is that ear messing with me like that? There. Cool. Yeah, now I can relax a little bit on this. Just relax and start letting this come out a little bit more now. It's funny, I design characters with hats all the time, and I hate drawing hats. Hats are so annoying. I kind of like that. It's a little different shape than what I was going for initially. So if any of my friends I game with are watching this, they will recognize this character. The idea came about during a game that my friend Dave was running. That was a kind of a pulp inspired role-playing game, and I really loved this character. Oop, don't do that. Yeah, let's just go to that. Simplify that a little bit. Alright, I have zoomed in just a touch here, but really didn't mean to. But that's okay. It's not too bad. It's at 25%. So it's only slightly larger than 11 by 17 would be. Alright. Those lines be quite so rough. I want this guy to be much smoother than that. It's funny, when I come off of a long run doing 3D, it always takes me a couple days to get my my traditional drawing hands back. There we go. Something I do quite a bit on paper is I'll put down an area of black knowing that I need a stroke or two of white to hit into it. And then I'll hit it with basically white acrylic paint. And digitally, I don't have to do that. And that's so nice. No hair showing there. No eye showing there either. You know what? Let's just go bold with it. Yeah, like that. That ear is just wrong. Okay. Alright, let's go in here. And add. Okay. I have this funny way that I like to cut these shapes into things. Got a very graphic nature to it, and I dig that. Even though I will often come back with, you know, more old school comic details. And sometimes I'll just come back and finish all that up. Sort of pull it together. And the direction, I like that old school, you know, hatching and line work and all that stuff that helps build forms. So I feel like there's something to be said for a lot of the modern comics, modern sort of art that is super bold and tries to be ultra graphic. Like, not graphic as in, ooh, it's gory, but graphic as in actually graphic design sort of thing. There's something to be said for that. There's a lot to be learned from it, but still something you can't get any other way than just traditional rendering. So I kind of like these, you know, the super graphic sorts of shapes, but then come back through and render within them. And I definitely need to loosen up. I can feel, you know, like a lot of the issue I'm having here is just with the tightness that I'm going about everything. You know, trying too hard to be too clean right off the rip on this, when I need to just relax, make a bit more of a mess, and work from that. I think this character will really be a lot of fun for people. I hope. The concept, I don't want to talk too much about it. I know, you know, it's like I go back and forth with myself on this. I'm like, you know, yeah, I'm not anybody huge with this stuff yet, but I still, it's like, you know, I always worry that an idea may be good enough that some jerk is going to steal it. And a lot of times, like, it has happened. There are things that I've shared with people, you know, at conventions and whatnot, that then, you know, and I'm talking about with professionals, like with long-standing pros, and, you know, a year later, when I'm trying to get it off the ground, boom, oh, something extremely similar comes out from them, and I'm like, didn't I have beers with you, dude? So, whatever. Yeah, I can't be bitter about it. It does make me a little reluctant to, like, give away a whole lot of story details, even while I'm doing something like this. Which really sucks, because the story is what I'm most interested in. There we go. Right. Don't like that. There we go. He's going to have a little remnant of his coat showing through here. Let's flip this and do it this way. really like drawing with white into black. Something very satisfying about that. Okay. Right here. Here's a little trick that I like to use inside here. If I want to draw white into black, but I really need to do the drawing part first, I'll apply this little color. What is this called? Yeah, the layer color. And then I'll change my white color to something like a red. And change the blue to black. So now I can see here anything that I've drawn in white is going to show up red. So then I can come in here and let's say I want to draw like this little bit of a lapel coming through here. Then I can do that. So I can draw these things here and they'll show up in this red. But then when I turn that off, they'll be white. Okay. Swing it around. When I'm doing those little tick marks, I really like to be pulling them out of the black. Whenever possible. Pardon me. I love old pulp, like real pulp, like you know, The Shadow and Spider, Master of Men, stuff like that. Alright, where are we at here now? Need a shadow right there. There. And just kind of complete these through here. I'm trying not to use some of what I know are the digital crutches that you can use. Like, it's very easy to use masking and all kinds of stuff like that, which, to be fair, I do use that stuff, you know. I'm not 100% of a purist, but just this morning I feel like I'm like, I want to kind of stick to my traditional guns a bit. There we go. Yeah, that made that pop out a lot better. It's funny, I do not like scrubby sorts of lines like that. Even though there's plenty of artists who I love who they do that, I'm not big on that. Like, even, I want even my tick marks and render lines, hatch lines and things like that to be pretty damn clean, smooth. And I'm probably going to call it a wrap here in just a second. Gotten pretty far on this. Let's just block that off. Let's turn that back off for the moment. There you can see where we're at. So I'm going to save my work on that, and it's a good place to stop for this morning. It's been nice to dig in on this character a bit and play around with it. Let's see. Yeah, eventually I'll be able to start probably sharing some stuff, and just got a few things I want to button up on it before I talk too much about the character and the plot, story, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Really looking forward to this, to working on this more and translating it over, with the help of Tassos into some page-to-page stuff. A lot of folks don't know about, or might not know about me, who've been following my work for a few years, is like, even though, I've built a career as an artist, my real pride is in storytelling and creating stories, creating characters and plots that move them and all that. And so, I mean, that's really the heart of what comics are to me, is a storytelling medium. It's a way to tell good stories and, play with different ideas. And so, anyway, the particular story that this character comes from plays with some pretty wild ideas through a very fun setting. It's dark, because I tend towards the dark, but it's dark in a fun way, like going to that pulp. Like I said, kind of the Shadow, the Spider, Master of Men, Doc Savage, any of that old stuff like that. I really love that stuff. Kind of in the era and vein of what League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was. God forbid, that movie was awful. It was pretty. It looked really good, but it was awful. But the comic is great. It's actually funny. A lot of people will probably slam me for saying this. I did not care that much for the artwork in the comic. Like, I get it. It was functional. It did the deed. I'm not real big on the super angular kind of style that it was. Just wasn't my thing. Like, I can recognize it's good for what it was. It just doesn't turn me on. But the story was really great. Then along comes the movie that I'm like, oh wow, this is visually gorgeous, and the story is just like, wow, you guys trampled that. Anyway, something I really like that genre, that whole milieu of setting and vibe and the tone and all that. And there's eventually I plan to start revealing some stuff about the character and so you can bet, just looking at the mask, it's got a fair amount of my love of Japanese things involved in it. So that alone kind of tells you some stuff. But there's also some things embedded in it that are going to be pretty wild. Pretty wild. It'll be a lot of fun. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for watching. Remember, like, share, subscribe, do all that groovy stuff. Head over to Sixus1.com, where you can sign up for the newsletter there. We actually haven't started putting the newsletter out yet. I'm just wanting to let a few more people get signed up before we start rolling a whole lot of those things out. There is so much cool stuff we have going on. So many things that are coming up. Oop, there we go. Sorry about that. So, yeah, a lot of really super cool stuff coming, including a little sneak peek of this guy. I think I shared a little bit with this guy the other day. Let's see if it's going to focus. Come on, focus on him. I think it's sensing too much movement. Actually, it's just staying focused on me way too much. Let's put him in front of me. There it goes. Yeah. So there is a really big version of this guy coming that I can't wait to see. Which, when I hop off here, it's what I'm going to go do is pull that off the print bed. You can see it probably right. This is kind of neat. Right there. Yeah. there's pieces of a big guy coming. So anyway, like, share, subscribe. Head over to Sixus1.com. Sign up for the newsletter. And